Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my mission inspiration page for January 2018. This is Mike Deacon's group on Facebook, and if you want to join in, you can just go over there to Facebook, search for Mission Inspiration, and ask to join. So these prompts are just a little list of prompts that you can follow, and the first one was to glue square or rectangle pieces of card. And so I decided that that would be a good opportunity to make some texture on my page for fun. You know, I wasn't sure exactly where I was going with this, so I just decided to glue some stuff on there. And I have some white corrugated rectangle paper. Yeah, I cut them in rectangles. It came in an 8.5 by 11 sheet, just bumpy paper. And then I also have these little pieces that I cut into 2 by 2 squares that are crackle paste. That's a wet gloppy stuff that takes a long time to dry. And a while ago I took a piece of deli paper and I covered it, or the center part of it, with the crackle paste, and then I just let it dry. And then now I have crackle paper, because crackle paste takes too long to dry, and if you dry it with your heat tool, then it makes small cracks, and I like it better when it's the big intense cracking. So this has worked really well. I've had this piece for a while, and I've used pieces of it on several different projects. I have a few tiny pieces left that I can probably use on ATCs or something small, but most of it's used up now. So I glued all those down with heavy gel matte medium. Then the next step was to add white or tinted gesso. I didn't feel I needed to paint over the entire thing with gesso, so I decided to use my super heavy gesso and make more texture. So I'm just adding the gesso with a palette knife, kind of patting and scraping it around in different places randomly to just, you know, make more interesting texture. Still not sure where I'm going with this. The day that I made this, it ended up being split into 2 different days, because this thing had to dry a long time. And then the next day was the 15th. I know you're not seeing this on the 15th. You're seeing it on the 17th or 18th or something. But the 15th is Martin Luther King. That's a holiday in the United States celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a pastor and an activist for human rights in the United States. His life was shortened by him being assassinated, because apparently whatever he was saying was controversial. But I decided I wanted to make my page about him, and I was planning on publishing it on the 15th, and then my laptop crashed, and then, anyway, I didn't get it done until the 17th is when I'm editing it. Hopefully it'll be loaded today. I finally got the video off of the laptop onto my desktop so that I could edit. It just... I need a new laptop, but I can't afford one, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to try to, I don't know, limp along with it. It was very annoying to have, technology is just, it's like, why can't it just work? Don't you want it to just work? So anyway, I printed off this graphic, and I got it from a teacher's site that had activities that you could do in your classroom with your kids to teach about Martin Luther King Day, because it is a holiday. So generally there's holiday activities, and you can, that's a good thing that you can work into social studies about learning about Dr. King and what he stood for and all that, and why there's a holiday about him. So I printed it off. I don't know who the artist was that made it. I even did a reverse image search, and I couldn't find the artist that made the original graphic. I don't know. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to make one of these color blocked images, and I'm not real confident in my ability to draw something that looks like the actual person. You know what I'm saying? Is like, I don't know that I can. I mean, I did try once. once is all I've really tried. It's the reason that I haven't done like a self-portrait or tried to draw a celebrity, with the exception of when I did that collaboration for Stranger Things. I tried to draw the mom from Stranger Things. I can't think of what the name of the actress is right now. I know, but I can't remember. Anyway, it looked kind of like her, but I haven't learned the skill of getting features in the right places. So what I should have probably done if I wanted to make a color blocked piece is to find a picture of Dr. King and then put it into a processing program for pictures, and then put it on grayscale and like made very, 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 you would turn up the contrast and try to make it that way. But I saw this one on Pinterest and I thought, it's already done. I can just use it and trim out the pieces that I want in different colors. And on Mike's Mission Inspiration Challenge, there is a color suggestion, and this month it was aqua, olive, and blush. And I thought, well, I can use those colors along with neutral black to make this color blocked image of Dr. King. So that's what I'm doing. In hindsight, I should have just painted it. I should have just went for it and drew it and painted it and called it good. This took forever. This is more work than I really wanted to do for an art journal page that's just going to be in a book. But once I started, I figured I would finish. So I used some cardstocks that I had that were the colors that I thought should be on this page. You'll see in the pictures at the beginning and the end that the blush section of the face, I ended up darkening it up with Neocolor 2 crayon because I really thought that it was too pale and it didn't contrast enough with the blue and the black. So I did darken that up. You can see it's very pale. The color of that paper is called Blush Blossom. It's a Stampin' Up! Cardstock that I've had forever. I don't know that they even have this color anymore. It wasn't that useful of a color, really. It was so pale. But I was going for blush, so I picked that, and then I decided later on that it's too light. I didn't like it. So then I ended up darkening it up. But you don't see that in the video because I did it off camera after the fact before I took the pictures. So just know that I did darken up that paper, that color, which is so pale. So I have the olive color on his suit, and then I have the aqua color as a shadow. And then I also used black, and then the lightest color is the blush. And I guess the tips that I have, make sure that your X-Acto knife is sharp. I cut some of it out with scissors if I could, and because it's easier for me, and then I cut the other pieces out with the X-Acto knife. Make sure that you have a mat underneath you so that you don't cut through your craft mat and everything that's under your paper, and then keep the pieces, the negative pieces, so that you can lay them back on there and correctly position things. Because just like the idea that I can't really draw it properly, I probably can't position it properly. If it was just in pieces, I would have, one eyeball over here, and it still wouldn't look like Dr. King. So you know what I'm saying. Just keep every little bit until you've got it all pieced together like a puzzle. All these tiny things I had to cut out. I wouldn't have been able to place them correctly probably. So it worked out in the end. It was a very fussy, tedious process to do this way. And maybe I would have preferred to just paint it, draw and paint. And if it looked enough like Dr. King, it looked enough like Dr. King. But that's not what I did, so I'm showing you my process of what I actually did. So what I'm doing now is coloring the background because I didn't want to just leave it white, and I wanted to highlight the texture. So I'm using glazing medium, which is an acrylic medium that you can put, use it to make a thin paint by putting your highly pigmented paints in it. And I'm using green gold, which is usually an olive color, and aqua, or no, turquoise, no, teal, sorry, teal, from Golden High Flow, which is close to the aqua color. It's not quite as light, but they're close. And I put the paint on pretty thickly using the glazing medium, just using those two colors. And then I go back in with a wet wipe, a baby wipe, and wipe it back so that I'm taking it off some of the higher points of the texture and letting it be down in the cracks, down in the crevices, so that you can really see there's a lot of texture on the page. And then I had to dry that a lot, and even so, it still wasn't quite dry. So the next step, step 3, was to make marks with a brush or a comb. I decided to use a fan brush and just make some interesting swirly areas by standing the fan brush up and just tapping the very tip of it using some carbon black fluid acrylic. So it just made kind of interesting. They almost kind of reminded me of tiger stripes or zebra stripes, maybe, because it kind of looked like hair. The way the marks ended up. Could probably do tiger stripes like that. Next step was to add blocks of handwritten journaling, and I'm just using a fine Posca pen, mostly going around the outside edges and then a couple areas. If you really look at it, you could read it, but it was kind of about what Dr. King stood for, the ideas of community and supporting each other and making a change for how things are. You know, giving the idea of his resolve to make things better, especially for minorities in the United States. That was what he was all about, and talking about how things should be instead of how they are. And it's a really kind of a touchy topic and a very political topic right now in the United States because of the policies of our current president, and he's, deporting people and making policies that have to do with race. I mean, just, yeah. I don't want to talk about political things on my channel, but I don't like what's going on. I don't like what's going on in my country. And I'm sure that there's people who think it's fine and also people out there who agree with me. So we're not going to talk about it, but doing a page about Dr. King right now, when it was Martin Luther King Day, and also with the political climate in my country, it's a good time to do a page about him. The next step was to add shredded book or music text. I just decided to decorate his suit a little bit. It was kind of a solid, flat color. So I collaged on some book text and, made it more interesting. He probably wouldn't wear a suit with book text on it, but whatever. It's my page and I can do what I want. So still using the matte gel medium to do that, and just this is just an old page from a book. I'm not looking at what it says on it at all. The words, it doesn't matter. It's just purely for pattern and to kind of break up all that solid color down there at the bottom of the page. Step 8 was to add typography, a quote, or a phrase. And so I had printed off a quote from Dr. King that I think is good for the beginning of the year and good for going forward and rebuilding and renewing. And it's one of my favorite quotes from him. So I decided to mount it onto some pieces of black cardstock to add more heavy, the bottom half of the page is heavy. I need something to balance it at the top. So I added these strips of black cardstock and then glued my strips of my quote onto them and cut them at the ends with different angles and things because I have the triangles. I think I skipped the whole part about the step where you were to draw with black or white through a stencil. I didn't talk about that, did I? Anyway, I did it, but I'm not sure I talked about it. I don't know. Anyway, that was one of the steps, and I used a triangle stencil to draw some triangle designs. So I've got the squares in the background. I put them at a more of a diamond rather than a square. So there's a lot of angles going on, and so when I put my quote on, I cut the ends at an angle as well to make it kind of match. And I was going to glue it on with tacky glue, and then I realized that there was so much texture that I needed to put foam tape to add my things on. So I put foam tape under the focal image and foam tape under my quote to deal with the fact that there was so much texture on the page. And I'm just doing a few little touch-ups. And then I decide that I want to use the word resolve, which was one of the words from the challenge, because it really does speak to me about how Dr. King was. He was very resolved to change the way we feel in the United States about minorities, and so much so that it got him killed. So sad, very sad that happened. That I don't know who, I don't know much about it as far as historically who it was or when it was exactly, but I thought the word resolve was perfect for this page. So I'm using some chipboard letters that are stickers things that I've had around. I finally put them in a Ziploc bag because I kept losing them. They're everywhere. And then I'm peeling off the back, but then also using the Aleene's tacky glue to glue them down as well. Trying to make them in a straight line down the page. And you'll see me do so much adjusting because I couldn't get them straight. Once I stood the page up, they were crooked. Even though as I was putting them on, I thought they were straight. They weren't. So it's all about perspective and which way you're looking at something. And I also needed to move around the spacing and just trying to get it to look up and down because I wanted to have that 90-degree angle between the phrase and the word. So you can see as I'm putting it on, you guys can see watching the video that I'm making it crooked, but it's not crooked in the end. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't, turn on your notification bells, and share if you want to. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.